First of all, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Dr. Ashok, for introducing me here. And as I know that where he rightly mentioned that it is difficult to understand complete AI in this kind of FDPs, just 5 days, and also for me it's just 1 hour or 1.5 maximum. So what I have done is I have just tried to connect AI with sensors, and a lot of applications I am will be giving you that what is the future if you combine a little bit of AI with the sensors which you people are expert. So it will be a very interesting non-tech kind of talk, because I can understand first talk of AI cannot be with a lot of algorithms and a lot of mathematics, and that is also on the last lecture maybe of the day, and that is on the fourth day as I understand. So I have made it very much application oriented, so I'm sure you will enjoy, and maybe we'll have a question answer at last related to anything whatever I'm presenting today. So first of all, let me start with introducing my center, which I always do. This Symbiosis Center for Applied Artificial Intelligence. We are located at Pune, and in a green environment. Our university is one of the finest university as far as infrastructure is concerned, otherwise also, but infrastructure is best. We got last year the best MHRD #1 campus award, and a lot of movies have been picturized at our campus as well. This center, Applied Artificial Intelligence, works in 5 different areas, which is computer vision, image processing, data fusion, natural language processing, and expert systems, where as you know that for first 3 areas which I have mentioned, the data comes from the sensors. Without that, we can't progress at all. So without sensor giving us the data, we can't develop any algorithm and can't develop any applications as well. Centers is having 3 verticals. One is doing a research, pure research, which is, of course, I would not say pure, but it is applied research for solving a particular problem. It does consultation for industries. For example, a mechanical industry wants to have some particular algorithm on AI. We help them. Let's say predictive maintenance is one of the example if they want in mechanical industry, so that they put the sensors on the mechanical parts. And then sensor collects the data continuously, and whenever there is an outlier which can be detected by AI algorithm, at that time it alarms that okay, this part is likely to go fail and you need to replace right now, so that downtime of the machine can be reduced. So this is an very important application right now, which is prevailing in all the mechanical industries, where it's a great combination of sensors as well as AI. Then we also do a lot of AI training. We offer the workshops for even industry people. Last workshop when we organized, we had participants from Infosys, TCS, Wipro, and other companies as well. Because I'm sure they have a lot of know-how, but AI and machine learning has advanced a lot in research as well. So that kind of training also we provide. We have 2 verticals. One is healthcare. We have our own hospital, Symbiosis, so we get a lot of data again from a lot of sensors, and we have let's say in the hospital we have a smart freeze and smart equipment, so they are all having sensors, and plus definitely we try to embed AI into it. So we have a one vertical in healthcare where we solve healthcare kind of applications using AI, and second vertical is robotic, where we do the projects with even Indian Army. We have a project. We had a project with DRDO as well, and several others. So there also we have a lot of multi-sensor fusion, data coming from different sensors, different kinds of data. We fuse them together, and on top of that, we run the AI algorithm. So there we have several funding. Quickly, if I tell about all kinds of funding, so that you will understand that AI can be useful in different ways. First funding we have got from MHRD, almost 80 lakhs, and that is from MHRD, but it is in collaboration with World Ranking University, which is University of Queensland in Australia. We got one more funding, which is from, again, MHRD, but that is with collaboration with Arizona State University. So all these universities are QS ranking first 500, and that was a mandate by MHRD as well before we apply for the funding, which is on credibility analysis of information. So in one way, it is fake news detection. The news which are coming up to you, are they fake or not? We do have a project with Hinduja Hospital in Mumbai that is on predicting the cardiovascular disease. Data comes from them, and we on the top of that we apply AI. We have one more project with one local hospital on cystic fibrosis. This is also a disease which is more prevalent in European countries, and that is, in a rough way, if I explain, it is nothing but the blockage of a lung in place of blockage of a heart. We do have collaboration with Tech Mahindra for developing an indigenous product, which we are patenting as well. We organize a very big hackathon in AI with Tata Motors. As I mentioned, we do have a project with DRDO where there's a lot of sensors which are used, and we predict is there is a landmine somewhere or not within some particular range. As it was introduced in my profile as well, we have a very big project with Royal Academy of Engineering UK on deep learning. We do have a project with one hospital which is on retinopathy of premature babies. You'll be surprised to know that once the baby born premature, there are maximum chances that there will be a blindness or there will be defect in the eyes. And if you scan it properly, then it is possible to eliminate. But to our extreme surprise, we came to know that there are only 15 doctors in the entire country who are extremely good experts in this area. You can imagine. And that's what we took this as a challenge. We collected the data, and we have developed a state-of-the-art AI now algorithm, which we are patenting and then publishing, where it can find out the defects as good as human experts. We do have a couple of projects with the University of Oxfordshire, that is again in London. And we just finished a project which was under again a fellowship, which is ASME Duo, and that was again Brunel University UK, which is I think one of the topmost universities in the world. First, I think 250 is the QS ranking. So these are various areas on which my colleagues in the center works with me. There are several faculty members of computer science department works with us, as well as 10 PhD students and 30 other students, interns are working with us, including, we offer the internship with the students, and we have a student from even IIT Kharagpur doing internship with us, right? So because the area is quite matching, which is kind of inverse reinforcement learning and very recent areas. So this is nutshell about what we are and what we do. This is the center which is located in my own institute, Symbiosis Institute of Technology, which I'm heading right now. So I'm sure all of you are listening to various experts on sensors. I'm not the expert on sensor, but I know that without sensors I can't survive, because sensors gives me data. It is a backbone for my, artificial intelligence, pipeline. And there are a large number of sensors available. This is not an exhaustive list. This is some of the examples. And you can see now, because of expertise of all of you, I think everywhere there are different kinds of sensors available. You can sense some of the things which you can't even think of, right? So once the data comes, the processing is more important, because data is now available. And then processing, this is the flow chart I would like to explain how it is done. And then I'll switch to maybe some applications and then some introduction about artificial intelligence I'll be giving. So once the sensor gives the data, what I'm supposed to do, I can store the data somewhere, maybe in a big warehouse. Okay. I can perform some statistical analysis on that sensors. I'm sure that has been told to you by now. And that's called data analytics, which without the use of even AI, I can do a lot of analysis on that if I have a good knowledge about statistics of that particular, means and I apply the statistics on that particular data. But the second way is using this big data, which is there in the warehouse, I can apply a machine learning algorithm on that. So at times I'm using artificial intelligence, at times I'm using machine learning. So I'll be telling you what are the differences in a very simple toy examples that what is it. And if you do that, you can control. You see, without that, you can't. For example, you have a sensor which senses the temperature, which is there in most of the houses now because that we have an air condition. And then it senses the data, but then what? Unless otherwise you process, unless otherwise you predict it, you can't control the AC. Right? So this portion is equally important like sensing the data. Right? So I'm sure in this particular course, you must have seen a lot of collection of the data, maybe a lot of design of the sensors. This is also a new area, or how to aggregate the data coming from the sensors, right? And using a lot of analytics. But my goal is to tell you that after you get the data, if you use artificial intelligence, so machine learning is also one of the portion of that, then you can do smart things. Wherever there is a word smart in this entire world, it's because of data combined with artificial intelligence. Right? So that I'm trying to tell you in some time. And I'm sure this is a very popular diagram for all of you, whereby once you have sensor data, you can have a network of the sensors, which is we call as wireless sensor network. And so this is a second category of use of data which are coming from the sensors, that you can propagate the data through a network of the sensors, right? But once you make a network of the sensors, there are advantages and disadvantages. For example, I'm solving an application of let's say telemedicine. So this is below here, where I collect the data of various parameters of the person who is at home. He's a patient and he is giving the data. So as a doctor, I'm sitting somewhere else, and that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to transmit that particular data to remote location and process there. So that is also one way of processing the information, whereby at the central location the data is received and then it is processed. Right. So for that you require a network, not only network of sensors, but maybe a network, Wi-Fi network as well, or maybe your broadband connection or a fiber connection, so that data will travel. But you know that once it is on the internet, security is an issue. So there are a lot of research is done if your data is traveling, because there may be a medical data or there may be military related data where you can't afford to have any leakage of that, right? So I'm just trying to give you different aspects of how sensors can be used. First, where it can be used on the spot with machine learning algorithm in the same kind of application, which is a control application, or it can have a, for example, you deployed, there is a forest and you put sensors at different places, right? And so that you can monitor the movement of the animals within that particular area. So in that case, there are a lot of sensors which collects the data at different locations, transmit to the base station, and then base station will predict and use AI algorithms and do something. Right? So that's also one more aspect I told. One aspect I told is medical health, where there is only one sensor and sensor will collect the data, or maybe multiple sensors, but it's not a network of sensors. The data is fused and maybe transmitted to the base station, where the doctor will analyze it, or maybe again in machine learning algorithm will analyze that. Now the new trend which is coming for the sensor is edge technology, which is the future. And there are a large number of applications have been solved as well. I'll be showing you that at last, whereby, after collecting the data from the sensors, you are not transmitting to internet before applying machine learning. So this is added. Earlier, the sensors were collecting the data, transfer it to net, store it into server or maybe a cloud, and there will be a processing and machine learning algorithm or data analytics or statistical methods will run, give a command back. But now the new technologies are coming whereby It is called edge technology, whereby your sensors will have machine learning algorithm. So maybe you can imagine this is sensor come machine learning, right? So it's embedded in a chip, so that the processing is done at that particular point only. I have 25 to 30 examples. In just last 10 minutes, I will tell you about this edge technology, because this is a future. And because all of you are, I'm sure, young researchers and teachers, uh, here there is an extreme good opportunity to have your own startup as well, right? As it was introduced in my introduction, we have a very good startup incubator as well, where already 25 companies I'm mentoring. It is by Government of India. Anyone can join, of course. So there we are, putting them into this kind of innovations, whereby you design a small sensor, but at the same time, at the place only, you do some processing and find out some analytics, some small machine learning algorithm, and make it a product which is working as a self. There is no need to have any connection. There is no need to have an internet. Only limitation, of course, is a battery of the sensors, which is going to be very crucial if you are running an algorithm as well. So this is third category where I'll be giving 25 to 30 examples at last, because I think this is a future where sensors have an embedded AI into it. Now, you must have heard all these terminologies. Wherever there is a smart, nowadays people are writing smart everywhere. So smart grid or smart agriculture, Internet of Things. IoT is a new area where it will not survive without sensors. Sensors everywhere spreaded. Smart retail, smart health, smart mobility, or smart homes. Right? So sensors are everywhere. So the future is very bright for those who know the sensors. But at the same time, you have to make it smart. You have to know how to effectively use these particular sensors. You see, in the smart world, all kinds of sensors are available. Of course, you know this better than me: accelerometer, or proximity sensor, or IR sensor, or gas sensors. So you should know the sensors, and then you need to use it in the application which you want to solve. If you want to have a smart home, you see, all these things are smart. So you can imagine how many sensors we can have at our home as well, starting from smart lock of the door, or smart security system. So you see, if you this is also sensing. If you are sensing some person is there or not by a camera, maybe you're a thermal camera, because at night also something will come. After that, what? You need to find out automatically that on such and such date, this person was found in this particular camera doing something. The days are gone where you mount a camera, you record it, and there's a huge recording of 15 days, and somebody will see it and see all 15 days. Nobody will like to see that. Right? So there should be an automatic technology which will find out that at this particular moment, at this particular frame, there is something which is outlier. So one has to find out. So again, there is an AI which will help there. So lighting control or energy management, appliance control, everywhere, I'm sure the sensors are used. And this is also demonstrated somewhere where a smart home, all the devices are using the sensors, but of course, along with the AI algorithm, which predicts and analyzes so many things, lot of trends, it provides the feedback. And if the person falls ill who is inside the home, it will also contact the emergency service provider. So if you want to develop this kind of end-to-end system, I'm sure that you require a lot of AI and a lot of other networks as well. Smart agriculture, there is the biggest use of sensors in the agriculture, whereby starting from irrigation schedule to crop management, or find out the type of the crop, in the sense it will work here or not. So soil testing kind of things. Everywhere the sensors are used. There are so many examples is there in this particular picture as well. But don't forget, on the top of that, you need to use AI. Right? Autonomous vehicle. In car, we have a large number of sensors every place, but what next? Once the sensor gives the data, you need to analyze. If it is an autonomous car, you need to find out who is there in the front, which kind of objects, how much speed it is traveling. So you have a sensor for measuring speed, objects, or in any lighting conditions, but then you need to process them, right? Even there are smallest kind of sensors available which measures the tire pressure or so many things, right? So there a lot of sophistication has been done by the sensors here. Some of the sensor examples I have written here, but finally it is on the top of that AI. These are the applications where also sensors are used. If you want to remotely monitor oil and gas plant or even traffic management everywhere. But there, actually, after their sensing is done, the data is transferred to the base station, and a lot of analytics using AI is done everywhere, right? In healthcare, in virtual assistant, manufacturing, smart cities. Then in surveillance and defense as well. I'll come to one more slide afterwards where we have also tried to solve the problem with the Indian Army and other places. So there also there are a lot of sensors, including landmine detection or an object detection, are used, and then finally, obviously, it is AI who plays an important role. And in fact, I would say because of AI, there is a huge demand in the new kinds of sensors and sensor technology. And because of sensor technology, I think AI has also flourished because data is given. So it's a great marriage between sensor and AI. In the process industries, for measuring everything, now it's not that in process industries one person needs to be there on the plant, right? The days are gone. The person can be at home, working from home, getting each and every statistics of the plant and also control that plant, sitting anywhere else in the world, in fact, not only at home. Right? So that kind of automation using SCADA and all that has been done. Again, thanks to sensors and AI. Right, so I can go on telling, but I'll now switch to AI soon. Then this particular wearable devices, I'm sure it is also creating an history. You can measure almost everything in your body now, and then you can transmit to your smartphone. Your smartphone is connected to an internet, so you can transfer to cloud, and you can do magic, right? And from this, I just remember one application. You can imagine there is an application getting developed, which is insurance related, whereby your insurance in future, next generation insurance, very soon, future means couple of years in technology, will be based on your fitness schedule. If you are jogging in the morning, going to gym or playing games and walking enough, then your insurance premium will be less. If you are not doing, then your insurance premium is going to be higher. How it will be done? You will be given some sensors and you have to prove that you are doing enough exercise, right? So that is coming very soon, because they are feeling that if you are not taking care about your own exercise schedule and your body, why should we? And we will charge you more, right? So actually, in a way, it's a good thing. You will come to know about your fitness as well. And if you want to pay less, it's a double advantage: pay less as well as remain fit by doing the exercise. This is the application which we have patented, and which is a jacket which is worn by a person along with glasses having sensors. It is also having sensors, jacket, and person is blind, but we have embedded the machine learning, deep learning algorithm within a chip, and it can find out and it will tell the person that there is some object in front. And we are enhancing as well. For you can imagine, once I can tell there is some person or some object in front, I need to change my direction of walking. If that is done, there are a lot of many other things also possible. So this is a patented one. We have patented at Symbiosis, and we are working more on that. So I can't give so many details about that, but the patent is there, which is published already. Right. So I've been telling a lot about applications and a lot about marriage between sensors and AI. So what is that AI? Bookish definition is so many. There are so many definitions. But one way to understand that is the way in which human beings are learning something, or they are demonstrating rather their intelligence. If computer also demonstrates some particular IQ, then machine is said to have acquired artificial intelligence. It is artificial because it's machine. So if human beings are demonstrating some IQ similar in one particular direction, if machine can also demonstrate, it is called artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, everyone feels that it is a very new emerging idea, but it is there in existence since 1950. In 1950, there was a journal of artificial neural network, right? So 1950 to 98, it was termed as artificial intelligence. But after 1980, there was more refinement have been done, and that is considered as machine learning now. Because now what has happened? It's not machine is demonstrating IQ, but while demonstrating, based on the success and failures, machine learns. Like as a human being, if we perform some task, based on our success and failure, we learn and we don't repeat the mistakes next time, and we perform and improve ourselves. Likewise, machine have also started learning and improving themselves, and that's what there's emerge of machine learning came, which requires more processing power. So it was not possible before 1980, but 1980 to 2010, more processing power has come, and it has increased, of course, and it has become possible. But after 2010, what happened is huge increasing machine power. That's first thing. Second, lot of importance was given to sensors and data collection and digitization, and this what huge amount of data has come. And that's what there's a new branch started within that, which is called deep learning. I'll tell you the difference between all three, but so deep learning is more popular and most powerful right now, which is heading towards natural intelligence in machines, and that is extremely popular now since last 10 years now. Right? And every day there are new research, new papers coming out from Google, Microsoft, Amazon on deep learning. It's impossible to even cope up with the papers as a reader as well. Right? It's so much of work is getting done in several directions, and it is affecting every human being. It's not in engineering; it is in science or medicine, everywhere, because of deep learning. So at nutshell, this is there, and I'll tell you the difference. Artificial intelligence is mimicking the human intelligence. Machine learning is a sub portion of artificial intelligence, which is, as I mentioned, improving the task from the experience while performing that particular task. And deep learning is learning from the data. See, now there's a difference between deep learning and machine learning. So in machine learning, I have written that improving a task from the experience, right? But in deep learning, it's learning from vast amount of data. So this particular picture will clarify the difference, which is very, very important. And that's what AI, deep learning and machine learning are sub portion of AI, and it is booming. You see, the machine learning case, once I give an input which are coming from sensor, let's say, I need to find out features. I'm sure everyone understands the feature. For example, if they give a picture of a car, then one of the feature is 4 wheels maybe, right? So that one has to give it to machine that I'm inputting a car and the features are like this. These are the features describes the car. So that description to be given in a mathematical form, and that is in machine learning. After this description is given, you can train artificial neural network, which will classify the features. If you give an auto rickshaw, it will give only 3 wheels. If you give a car, it will tell there are 4 wheels, and that's what it is car. So it can differentiate based on this network, given the features. That is machine learning. But in case of deep learning, you see that portion is missing, is not there in the picture. So you need not to specify features. You input car and tell this is car, machine will learn. You input auto rickshaw, it will learn this is how auto rickshaw looks like. Something unthinkable, right? You need not to describe. It's like as a human being, if when I born and after some years somebody showed me car, 2-3 cars, I learned that okay, car looks like this. Nobody has told me that this is the mechanism inside that and that's what it is car. But by visually I have seen and I could now find out. A new vehicle comes, I'll tell, okay, this is like a car. So likewise, like a human learns, deep learning learns only from the data. So here, only sensor data can be there and it can produce the output. So that's a very important change from machine learning to deep learning. Here there's a lot of mathematics, and now there is no mathematics. It is a black box. Just give the data and it learns. Right? It will find out the patterns of the data as well. It will find out features from the data as well. Anything and everything. Only thing requirement is large amount of data. Because there are a lot of variants of cars, sometimes I will be confused that is this a car or not. So I need to learn several different types of models of the car to make it final that, okay, the car looks like this, right? So likewise, machine needs a lot of data before it finalizes that this is car and this is not, right? So because of IoT, because of sensors, because of huge amount of data, because of a lot of processing power now, lot of applications are getting solved automatically and becoming smart, and that is a power of deep learning. So if I go in slightly more detail about AI or machine learning or deep learning, and AI is a broader term, right? So you can use AI any point of time, but machine learning and deep learning are some specific, but they are the sub portion of that. So AI is the umbrella level, and then machine learning is a sub part, and sub part of machine learning, one of them is deep learning. So there are three kinds of learning, because once I told that machine learns, so how it learns and which type of learning. There are many, but there are three broad kinds of learning. One is supervised learning. Okay, so if I give an example of supervised learning, if there is a teacher in the class and teaching to a student, it is supervised learning, just because based on the expressions the students are behaving or giving, teacher will change the direction of the teaching. Right now it's not possible in online, it's very difficult, but in a physical class, once teacher is telling something and he or she observes students, maybe by question answering or otherwise, and teacher will change the direction of teaching. It can be slow, it can be faster, it will be adaptive, right? So there is a feedback available. Once I'm teaching, there is a feedback available. It is supervised learning. But second category of learning is like learning from, let's say, MOOC course, where there's a video which has been played. Then also there's a learning. You can't deny there is no learning there. But there is unsupervised. It means video will not change. It's a fixed video of 1 hour you are supposed to listen. You can't give a feedback, at least during that one video, 1 hour video, but still you learn. So that is, I would say, unsupervised learning. There is definitely learning, but without a supervisor. And third learning is robotic kind of learning, so reinforcement learning, where you learn from your mistakes and achievements, which we are certainly doing as a human being. We learn from our past mistakes and past achievements as well, right? If you are right now a faculty member, but some of you must be enjoying that, some of you must be feeling that, why I have become a faculty member, I should have been going in the industry, right? So we learn based on our experience, and that is the third kind of learning, which is very, very useful in robotic application, which is reinforcement learning. So again, some small examples of supervised learning. I have a data, and somebody has categorized the data, that these are apples, and you tell machine that this is apple, machine learns. And once you give a new data, it will tell, yes, it is an apple. As simple as that. It's supervised learning. Unsupervised learning is like a magic. You see, you are giving all kinds of fruits. You don't know the category of fruit. There is no feedback, but machine can cluster them. This is apple, this is some different fruit. So it can do automatically this as well. Right? That is unsupervised learning. And reinforcement learning, whereby you give an input and nothing is specified. You ask a question, is it mango? No, it's not mango. And then there's a feedback, it is an apple. So after some time it will register that this looks like an apple, so it will be apple. So it's like mistakes will make you perfect. There are a lot of algorithms. There is no time right now. This is an entire course, in fact, in BTech as well, machine learning, where we teach all kinds of algorithms to do this. Either you want to classify things, you want to do regression, you want to do clustering, and there are a wide variety of. I have only included only the popular algorithms, but I think there are large number of algorithms here as well. And using that, these are the applications which I teach. I have put in one slide, which use of AI in banking, in transport, and retail, in education, everywhere, right? So AI is everywhere, and I'm sure you will also tell me that sensors are everywhere. But these are the applications of AI, and several of the places, let's say transport, or insurance I told, or cybersecurity, or smart homes, or defense, or agriculture, everywhere sensors are equally used in these applications. There are some more applications than the sensors can do, but still there are. Even in sports, there are wearable devices. You can mimic how the sports has been played, and you can learn from that as well. How Tendulkar can hit six, you can find out very well putting the sensors and analyzing that, and that has been also been demonstrated. So that is about machine learning. And if I tell you a couple of minutes about deep learning, there are 4 basic algorithms of deep learning, which is one is convolution neural network, which are extremely powerful at processing the image. It can process the image to that extent, you'll be surprised to know, if I want to know all the roads, if I want to have a Google map of all the roads, a city like Pune, where the population, I think it's 60 lakhs. Okay, I can take a 3D image from the satellite and I can map the entire city. Right? When Google Map was invented, I think it was a Google car which was moving on all the roads, noting down the notations, and that way Google Map started. Now, if there is a new city, you take 3 photographs from satellite of that city, and all the roads, everything in that can be mapped. You can't imagine the power, right? We can't even imagine that you take 3 photographs and you map entire. I'm sure you must have also observed that if there is a traffic congestion, it tells in real time. You can imagine how many roads are there in the entire world. Anywhere else, what is the traffic condition, it can give it to you. So don't you think it is too much powerful? So this is definitely a machine learning or rather deep learning application. Then I have slides for this, but I'm not going in that because I think too much technology I want to avoid today. Maybe sometime later we can have an entire AI course or something. And second are recurrent neural networks, which are used for, which is having some memory inside. So they are used for time series analysis kind of data, or surveillance kind of data. Once you have a camera for surveillance, you need to predict the events. Then also it's possible using this. Wherever there is a time involved, you need to use recurrent neural network. Right? So they are extremely powerful again. Third category of networks are autoencoders. It can find out the features from a data, and it can reduce the dimensionality of the data. If you are having a lot of data and a lot of dimensions of the data, becomes very difficult to process using AI algorithms, so it can do that. Second, to your interest, what it can do is, if the data are coming from different sensors, if you want to fuse them as one encoded data, they are the best one, in fact. In unsupervised way as well, it can find out, it can fuse the data, it can find out the patterns among the data as well. So they are very powerful again networks. And the last, which directly are not used with the sensors as of now, but they are extremely powerful networks. It can generate, if you give it your PhD thesis 3 chapters, it can generate 3 more chapters. I'm not exaggerating that. So there are applications which are developed. So it can generate text based on some inputs. If you give an abstract of a thesis, if you want to write an introduction with at least 70 to 80% accuracy, your base paper will be ready. That is possible using generative adversarial network. So they are like magic in deep learning, and a lot of magical applications are getting sold using generative adversarial network. I have a large number of such, but today that's not an theme of this talk. So this is just something about convolution neural network, how network looks. All the inputs are coming from sensors, and it can process and it can give the predictions. Okay, even this is such a powerful that if you give this kind of faces, you can visualize at any point of time the faces as well. Right, so even visualization is possible within that. This is recurrent neural network. It is used in time series prediction, robotics, handwriting recognition, image classification. So if you have a speech sensor, it gives the data, it will recognize who is a speaker and large number of things, right? There are softwares available, and I'm sure you know that one machine language to another machine language translation. So these are all applications of this. Machine translation is definitely one of the best applications solved using recurrent neural network. I told autoencoder, let us not go in detail, but it can fuse data coming from different sensors. And gains, they are just some magic, unthinkable things it can do, but that's not a topic today. If I tell something more detail about some technicalities, multimodal AI, which we are working heavily in my research center, and that is, there are two kinds of fusion possible. What I'm trying to tell here is, I have a sensor data. I can fuse the data and then do my machine learning. So classifier learning is my machine learning. Or second way is, I can find out the classes using some feature vectors and then do the concatenation of my data. So this is early fusion and this is late fusion. So both are having some advantages and disadvantages. So once you have data from different sensors, you need to decide which kind of, and people are also working with hybrid fusion as well. So you need to decide which kind of fusing you will do. So that is all. Ideally, it's a sensor technology, but more or less it is taken care nowadays by machine learning and deep learning algorithms, and we call that as multimodal AI. There are two different modalities. Two different modality can be, one is a text, one is image. One can be sensor data coming from one kind of sensor, let's say pressure, and second modality is coming from different kind of sensor, right? So it can be from two different sensors or n different sensors, or it can be, in AI terms, it can be two different, like image and text. It can be two different sources of data as well, right? Different kinds of, suppose you want to merge the pressure coming from three different places, right? So that also is different modality because you need to do different kind of scaling, different kind of needs may be there. So all these things are taken care by multimodal AI and the fusion. Huge number of applications for multimodal as well, starting from finding the how you are feeling right now, anger or sadness, or even this picture is given and you find out the caption. So these are, of course, I'm going more towards AI. That the picture is given, computer can find out the caption. This has been completely solved with an extremely high accuracy. Given any picture and what is the description of the picture, I'm sure we as a human being took some years before we can write the caption of any picture, at least 4 or 5 years after we born. But computer can do it now very, very efficiently. Now, then one more application which we have developed and we are publishing also now is gas detection. So there are different kinds of gases coming from the process plant. And once, we are trying to detect which kind of gases are there so that we can find out the leakage ideally. So we have distributed sensors at different places in the entire process plant where ideally human beings even can't go. And then we also use thermal cameras, okay, to capture the image as well. And we fuse because at times the sensor data is giving you the good information. At times your camera gives the good information. We don't know when it is accurate, either of them. So we fuse them in a multimodal way. So for image, which comes thermal image, we use convolution neural network, is, as I told, one of the method. And for other kinds of sensors, we use LSTM network and we fuse. And so this work we have done at our center. So I thought let me put that particular picture as well from my center. So the basic goal here is in any industry, once there is a leakage of the gas, it can find out. I'm sure there's a multi-million dollar application because safety and security are prime important right now, right? But all industries are not using this. Maybe um, lack of awareness. They don't want to invest in maybe AI and so on and so forth. And most important thing is awareness is still missing, right? This is also a project which we are doing, which we have done in fact with DRDO, that is finding the landmine. So in landmine also we put sensors, we put a thermal camera. So again, there is a fusion of different sensors data, and then we predict that there is a landmine in some particular distance forward or not, so that either it's a vehicle which is traveling or a man who can travel because there's no threat of landmine ahead. Right? So of course the distance is always limited, and there are both the ways you can transmit the data of sensors to the base station. Base station will use fusion algorithm and tell you that there's a landmine ahead or not, or at the location itself you can put some intelligence, right? So that's what I'm telling. Edge technology is all about putting something at the location itself, and from there only it can beep or it can give me alert without going to the base station, because once you send it to base station there are security risks, right? Yeah, this I just added. This is a corona time and we need to use sanitizer. So there are sanitizer tunnels available. So we indigenously developed this particular tunnel for our university, our institute, and we have placed all kinds of sensors. And once the human being passes through, it sprinkles the sanitizer for a particular duration. And now we are enhancing this with one more sensor whereby a person enters without a mask in this tunnel, then also it will be beeping so that it will not be able to enter to my institute. So this is indigenously developed by us completely. We have filed a patent, and after that we have now published also. The paper is available in Emerald already. Right. This is the biggest use of sensor we have done, and yesterday only our paper got accepted in the Sensors Journal of MDPI, which is there online available. It's yesterday only. I just sent it to your coordinator as well on your WhatsApp. So, which is a complete air pollution monitoring system where we have placed different sensors, and we have done a lot of analytics using AI, and we are finding the pollution in the air at different locations. I don't mind in telling that we are enhancing this. Of course, we have patented, and this next patent is pending. But I don't mind that what we are now trying to do using this is along with the Google Map, there will be a second map which tells that this is the least polluted path. Okay, this is less traffic path, but this is the least polluted path. So generally, we feel that more traffic means more pollution, but it may not be true always, right? Because if there is a greenery or clean road, so you can get a second option as well. So that is possible by laying down the entire sensor network, which is the work which is going on right now. So this is the system which we have developed, and this, yeah, I just added this as well. So this is the paper which went through yesterday only in the Sensors Journal. I'm sure it is one of the best world journal, Q1. And yesterday it has come online. This is exactly on what I'm trying to describe. Right. Now we have some time, yeah, before you ask for questions. So I will tell you. I was telling about edge technology, whereby on the device itself you can put some smartness, means AI algorithm, and the device will become smart, and you can make small such devices and you can start your own company. So I have now 25 slides which I'll finish in 10 minutes, just showing some pictures which are the applications which are available in the market, which are the devices available in the market. They are the best examples of combination of sensor with AI. All of them uses sensors. You will appreciate every one of the application, and also they use AI so that sensor data can be processed and it works in a smart way. So You see, there is a fork available. You can connect with smartphone. It will do all these kinds of things, that how many times you use the fork, to how speedily you are eating with a, so everything. You can still enhance this, right? You can put other sensors where it can also fill test, or it can find out that which kind of test you like it, because you are eating this kind of food more. So it can be enhanced like this, right? There is no limit here. Right? Or particularly those who are eating faster like me, it can go on that you are eating too fast, slow it down. Indigenous application, sensor, and yeah. There is a sensor in this coffee cup, and it's battery operated. And once you pour a coffee inside, coffee will be hot for 7 days, right? So that is available. 7 days you can have a hot coffee because it maintains that. Smart Truth Burst is available. So your hygiene routine, suppose ideally you should do a minimum twice a day brush, morning and before going to bed. If you are not, it will alarm you in your mobile that you forgot your brush. That is bare minimum, of course, I'm telling, but how much time you should do, which way you should do, still I'm sure that I should not tell, but 50 to 60% of the people don't know how to exactly brush. That's what doctor tells. It should be horizontally done or vertically done. So there are a lot of issues here which can be prevented if there's a pre-program like this. So these are the products available. I have given some references as well. In fact, everywhere I have given the references. You can see that. And which are the sensors used and how it has been developed using AI. Some little bit information may be given because they are the products. Everything may not be free. Most of them are self-explanatory, so I'll have spoke enough. So I think you can read this as well. So egg minder, very interesting, right? So you see, what I'm telling again is find out a sensor, find out an AI person, do some research. Then once prototype is ready, any company will make you this kind of finishing product for you. And before that, of course, you patent it, market it, right? So not difficult. And this startup ecosystem is extremely favorable and conducive right now in our country, right? So some of the applications are trivial, which you will feel that it is okay, it has been done, but still from there you can get an idea of doing something more, right? So when you need to recharge, this I'm sure everyone knows. Glucose monitoring, then washing machine smart, and you can operate from your phone. Nothing like a fantasy, but it will, these are the products so available. So you can think from there what you can derive and do something more. So at home there are plants, indoor plants. It can be having a lot of sensors. So the plants require a water or which kind of environment, which kind of temperature, which kind of other nutritions, everything can be found via this application, which is available for indoor plants. Optimal growing condition, if it is not matching, it will tell you and tell that this is not optimal, your plant will not grow, right? So all these things are done. Lot of sensors. Your lawn requires a particular amount of water. It should not be dried, and you don't want to make it too much weight also, because you will not be able to run on that, right? So, and there's an ideal condition. So if you can do that, in case of grapevine, you can control the irrigation as well, right? Which is most difficult, as I know. Home security is very popular. We know this is interesting. We are addicted to games, but in a games for pet as well. You'll be surprised, right, that how it will be working. You can try this. You can note down this. You can take a screenshot of this, or maybe you can try this later. What I'm trying to tell is only sensors plus AI. These are all edge technologies. Smart lighting, you can control the lighting and you can give a different shades to your lighting. It's not only a fixed shade. Everyone would like to have a change, right? Smart AC, everyone knows. So installs having Bluetooth. So your navigation, your directions, its orientation, how you move, everything is recorded. This game, either is a baseball or other game where you're moving, swing the stick. It can find out that how fast you have moved, what was the effect of swinging the bat like this, or your posture was not okay. Everything can be recorded, and after the game, you can analyze even if you win or lose, so that you will not make the mistakes again. Sleep system we know very well, and a Fitbit it compares. You can have a mother who will tell you different commands that it can watch you and it can tell you that you're using iPhone too much, just leave and have a relax. So whatever the commands mother gives to your child can be trained to this particular device. Blood pressure monitor, we know very well. There can be an entire weather station at your home. It will tell you what is your oxygen level at your room, which you are sitting, or what is the temperature, what is the CO2. So entire weather conditions it can sense, which is not difficult at all, right? Very, very simple. You are experts in that, but still there is a product available. Your cooker can be fast cooking, slow cooking, whatever you want to control from remote. And from remote and from mobile means from anywhere else, right? Before you reach the home, you put it so that you'll get your hot rice once you reach at home. This is available, right, in Amazon also, where dancing robot spider. So if it can dance a spider from a robot, it means it can do lot many activities. That's what is the meaning here. Smart mirror, which is connected to internet. So while looking at the mirror, you get a news, you can see other things, your email as well, and so many other things you can plan while you are getting ready as well, if you wish. This is amazing product. It's worth reading. Smart racket, which after the game you can analyze everything what you have played in your game, which kind of shots you played, forward, backward, all kinds of what was the power you used during that. So you can analyze the entire game and you can find out that which are the mistakes you made, and you can improvise. A very, very good product. Smart bike, it will tell you traffic conditions like car and all. And all the matrices is how much you driven. This is normal, right? Which I'm sure several of you must be using also. Smart dustbin, once it fills up, it tells that now I'm about to get filled. So empty me, right? So smart garbage cans also. This is worth exploring. It's a cooking assistant, baking assistance. It will, once you want to cook something or bake something rather, it will tell you what will be requiring to you. And if you enter all the details about your kitchen, type of microwave and type of other facilities available, it will tell you so many things more, that your microwave requires 6 minutes of cooking because it is of this capacity, right? So it's worth, before I tell, I think you experience that. It helps a person in cooking very, very well. Initially, you need to configure some of the things, which kind of recipes you like and all, but it helps really well afterwards. Again, there's a new application for pet, which has come. Pet feed. Smart mirror, one more. There's a different company is providing, so it is second time it has come. This is also a smart gardening, where everything is controlled by sensors, which we know. eCardio, your cardiac monitor application. I'm done in 2-3 minutes. Just I'm finishing these slides. Smart door lock. So Using your mobile phone only, you can open this door, or maybe some particular, once you are coming closer with your mobile and this, otherwise you can't. So it's totally smart. Smart socks with sensors. So it will calculate everything for you. And maybe the last one, and that is smart salt, right? So your body, how it behaves, your recovery, everything of your temperature, which is highly required nowadays, right? Your some other levels in your body, it will find out. Once it finds out and sensors. So this is, why I included these applications, because this is coming near closer to, stand up India, whereby you develop and use sensors. Top of that, you use some smartness, which is very simple, and then develop a particular product. And I'm sure people will prefer this kind of smart products more and more. The youngsters, you can't give them old-fashioned t-shirt. If smart t-shirts are available. Right? So I'm sure this is going to be the future and reality. So that's what I thought, let me present. So I tried to give idea about AI, which is a small portion actually, because I was not willing to give you a lot of um, theories about AI, but definitely my goal was to at least start making you start thinking about learning AI, because I'm sure the applications which I have shown has given all of you some particular insights that how it can be combined, and the main goal was to excite you so that you will learn AI. That's always the goal of a teacher, right? In the first lecture, and as I was told that uh, people may not be knowing AI, so that's what I tried to do. So thanks. I think we have some time for question answer as well. So I will be happy to take any questions anyone is having.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Ketan
Please.
Kotecha, for this the wonderful session. And then I can see the comments from the participant. They are, even this may be new for many participants, but they are writing that wonderful session, interesting session, informative session. So that
that's
at
great.
least, they are learning something. And so, from your talk, what I understood, the sensors have no meaning without AI, and this means AI is required. That only sensors
And AI is not also having meaning without sensors. So I will go both the sides.
Both ways.
But it is back to back.
Yeah. So let's take some questions now. So Richa Physics, participant, I request you quickly write the question. So so we can have the continuous question. So Richa, I'm taking the question from. So please suggest some open source software for analysis of real-time data through ANN, which require minimum programming.
Okay, ideally for AI kind of thing, you should be doing programming in Python. But at the same time, if you use GitHub, I'm sure everyone knows, or otherwise you can type GitHub. GitHub is a repository where almost all kinds of AI algorithms code is available. You need to just download it and use it. It is free. In AI, everything is free. Any code, any software, any GitHub, everything is free. So nothing to worry about, buying or purchasing some softwares if you want to develop an AI algorithm. Plus, it is reached to that level that you need not to code even. All the codes are available, and maximum code size also for ANN or this kind of applications which I have shown, it's not more than one screen. So maybe 10 to 20 lines, because everything is available as a function. So learning is very easy, but to understand the existing code, I would wish that you need to learn Python, which is easiest programming language as of now, right? So that using one MOOC course or something, you can learn, and then use GitHub. I have written in the chat also GitHub, and that all the codes are available.
Okay, so Dr. P.V. Rajeshwari has the compliment, really presenting very lucidly technology, senses, connecting every aspect of our life. Yeah, so I also do not have the much idea about the AI, but I am very fascinated to learn this. and I'm trying to join.
That was the goal. Yeah. That was the goal, that if I go in too much detail of AI, I think you will not like it today, at least in the first lecture. So I thought, let me present some applications so that you will feel like learning AI, which is not difficult, right? And ideally, you see, 21st century, it's also not learning. If you are extremely good at sensors, why don't you collaborate with a person who knows AI and have a joint work or joint collaboration, or maybe a paper or project or patent? So that's what I think is the world is moving towards that. Right? If I'm applying my AI to the Tata Motors in their plant, I don't know mechanical engineering. Even though I'm an engineer, I don't know mechanical at all. I'm a computer engineer. So I learn from him that, okay, this is the problem and this is the way they want a solution. So I use my AI only that. So I know AI portion, he knows mechanical portion, and finally it works. I think that multidisciplinary should work, because we will not be able to learn everything and we can't be the master.
Obviously, so that's a good way to collaborate. So participant, you can ask the questions quickly if you have. So again, we have the many comments, compliments like great session, nice session, wonderful session. Thank you, sir. Very informative session. So if you really have some questions also, then we can take the advantage of Dr. Ketan Kotecha's experience. So he is a very good expert in the AI. So he has this many project on this one on AI. So he is the CEO of the Center Applied Artificial Intelligence also.
Maybe there are no questions.
I think the problem is the same. This means this is a little bit difficult topic, and so interesting.
To start learning AI, from where should I begin? I think there is an introductory course on Coursera. The title of the course is Introduction to Machine Learning. The expert is NTU. Right, so this course is the best course ever I have seen. Andrew Ng is a founder of Google, and he teaches AI, right? So that's an amazing. He's a Stanford University professor, but the course is very simple and lucid, which is Introduction to Machine Learning, right? So I think.
So this Nagarjuna has one question. I have a fish tank. If I want to monitor the fish movement, please suggest a sensor.
No, I can suggest how the movements can be detected. Sensors, I can't suggest. Sensors, you people need to suggest.
Okay.
So there must be some proximity sensors or something. But once the sensor is deployed, I can process the data using AI.
Okay. All right. So you understood, Nagarjuna. I think you got the answer for your question. Another question is about more aligned to AI. So Bappadia Sarkar is asking, sir, any workshop can you conduct regarding AI? So we might.
We conduct several workshops. So keep visiting our website, which is I can write here sky. What is sky.edu.in.
This is.
So you can visit that, and we will put the announcements there. We do a lot of workshops. We are doing now next workshop for students from UK, in fact, and Uzbekistan as well, and faculties of one more country as well. So we do it for several people, but we do customized workshop for a customized crowd so that maximum benefit can be obtained. Not a generalized version where there is a heterogeneous crowd, so sometimes it becomes difficult.
Rajiv Kumar has one interesting question. Can human thought be controlled using AI?
Right now, every one of us are controlled using AI only. Because I think whatever you are doing with Google gives the answer and you are obeying, and Google is running on back AI. So definitely you are getting controlled by AI. I'll give you one more example. If you open google.co.in, okay, and type some particular thing about some particular politician, let's say, and then you ask some friend in some other different country and ask him to search the same thing, you will get two different answers. If you search about our Prime Minister in India, you will get very, very good positive things. If you ask same information in some other country, you may not get the same information. You will get some mixed information. So what I'm trying to tell, Google does not give what is fact. Google gives to you what you like. So there is information manipulation definitely done by Google, and Google tells this same. Okay, I can send you the TED talk on Google, which tells that Google does this algorithmic manipulation on us, and that has been allowed as well. So Google gives what we like, not what is the fact. And that way, if you consider that way, you are definitely controlled right now by that AI algorithm. I can search for that TED talk as well, which is telling this. If I search now, I will send it to you. Otherwise, I'll send it to your coordinator. Any other question?
This question, I think, again related to sensors, not AI, or still I'm reading it. Sir, is it possible to count the fish number? The same relate to the same question, that we have the fish tank, and then so can we know the movement? Number, yeah. How many fish are in the tank?
This I can do without even sensors, because if I take a video, from a video I can find out how many objects are there using my deep learning technology.
Yeah.
So for that, there is an algorithm called YOLO, which can do that. Right.
Yeah. Anyone, any more questions? We can wait for 30 seconds. If you can continue with the questions, then yeah, we can have more questions. Yeah, so again, we have Rajiv Kumar here. Blind person can able to see through AI. So yeah, is there any help for blind person through AI?
Lot of, in fact, lot of efforts have been done whereby you can sense the environment in front of you using virtual reality and AI, and you can make him feel what is coming in front of that particular person. Not only the objects, but a taste, but smell as well. But of course, it cannot be 100% like what we can do, but we are moving towards that. VA means technology is moving towards that, yes. Not with the actual eyes that medical science needs to do, but with the artificial eyes. Artificial, I mean, they can feel, they can taste, they can see, means they can feel within that there are 10 people in front. Somebody will explain them. So all these things have been done a lot by, in fact, Microsoft. Microsoft products are available on that.
So means
it's very fascinating.
Yeah, Dr. Ketan, I have this curiosity out of this question. So that I was long back, I was reading some kind of article. This was saying if you record some signal, like I am seeing something right now, and if I record this signal and feed this signal to somebody else's brain, and then he will see the same thing. Is it true, something like that? And so the blind person can see. I think it should be possible. Then you can have more comment on this. Means you told just now that means people are working, but what is the possibility? Do we think that this is totally possible?
It is possible, because there is one attempt done successfully is by my thoughts. I can control the arm through internet, which is located somewhere. Okay, I have an amputated leg, and I can control that leg by my thoughts. That has been demonstrated by scientists already.
Yeah.
Right. So it means it should be possible. I can't deny anything for the technology now, because there is a huge progress done everywhere.